So yeah, welcome everyone to our Talking Wellbeing breakout session. This is a bit more of an interactive session, so we'd love for everyone to kind of come off mute and share their experiences or use the chat function. So if you want to turn your videos on if possible, pop yourself on mute to avoid any background noise. If you'd like to come in and ask a question or share a point, then you can just use the raise hand function, which is along the top. And then we'll know that you want to come into the discussion. And then finally, if you want to connect with each other, it'd be great if you could share your LinkedIn and connect with each other after the session. So Sharon Critchlow is going to be running our session today. Sharon is a UK council member and does a lot for us around the wellbeing space. So Sharon, I'll pass to you because we've not got very long for this one.
No, that's absolutely fine. Well, welcome everybody, and whatever sort of day you've had so far. I mean, obviously you've been here for an hour and you've listened to everything on the talent trends report, so I'm hoping that you've had a good start to the day. But if you haven't, or if you're thinking, oh, I've got all these things on my to-do list, then what I'm hoping is that what we'll cover in the next sort of 20 minutes or so is going to give you a bit of a different perspective on how you consider your well-being. So what is well-being for you? If anybody wants to put in the chat what they do for their well-being and share what helps them, then that would be good. If anybody wants to put the hand up and share what they do, then that'll be great as well. So in the meantime, so my background, so I'm an accountant, the same as you. I sit on various boards as a non-executive director now. And I've found that moving between lots of different organisations and lots of out of one meeting into another meeting across organisations can be quite stressful at times. And so I've had to develop ways of working out how I'm going to keep myself sane, how I'm going to keep myself productive, and how I'm going to be able to focus irrelevant of everything else that's going on, all the busyness that's going on. So so the four things that I normally speak about are the four different elements of well-being, and they're slightly different to some of the things that other people talk about. So the first thing I want to talk about is vision. I don't mean sight. I mean actually understanding what it is you want from life, because quite often we get to a situation where we've got lots of conflicting things. Lots of people want different things from us. And we're like, well, you can't see the wood for the trees. You're trying to be everything to everybody. And if you've got a clear pathway of what it is you want to achieve in your life, so what it is you want in your career, what it is you want from your home life, what it is you want from your friendship groups, do you want to see people a lot or not very much? What is it you actually want? The clearer you are, the easier it is to draw those boundaries, to say yes to things and no to things. And other than that, we can all end up with a little bit of fear of missing out and end up saying yes to everything and then wishing you'd said no to everything and not actually enjoying any of it because you've run out of energy. So what I would say is the first thing is get clear on your vision, get clear on what it is that you want. What is it you want from your career? Do you want progression or not? Are you happy where you are at the moment? Put yourself some timescales around that as well, and be clear with yourself and with other people around you if you can what good looks like, because it will make it so much easier for you to pick the right things for you. So that's the first thing I wanted to say, was pick a vision. And something you can do, if you've heard of vision boards, so you can pull up there's apps that do this, or you can get a piece of paper and stick things on it that pictures that represent the things that you want in your life. Whether it's you've decided the next 3 years you want to get your yacht masters and you put a boat on there and that's what that means to you, or whatever. So you want to go. So we've got Nicola in the chat here, jumps in the sea most mornings. Good for you. I do like a bit of that. So maybe that's it. Maybe you set yourself the task, as one of my friends has, of going in the sea every day. So that's on her vision board as something that's important to her. And the reason why it's quite useful to have it either written somewhere or pictorially, you could do a presentation page on it or whatever, is that your reticular activating system in your brain has this habit of finding patterns. So if you decide, like I like red shoes, when I present on stage, I wear red shoes. So I spot, because my brain knows I like red shoes, it spots red shoes everywhere. So if you're thinking, actually, I want to go to yoga twice a week, but I don't really know any yoga groups around here, get clear on it. And believe me, one day you'll be in the local post office and you'll see the poster that you've walked past lots and lots of times before, but your brain, your reticular activating system, looks at it and goes, oh, there it is. That's what I'll do. So get clear on your vision. That's the first thing. Now, in the chat we've had here, somebody's talked about getting enough sleep. Yes, and Nicole's also talked about getting enough sleep. So what I would say is, if there's one thing that you can do for your body every day that will help you to be really sharp and smart and enjoy your life, because that's what it's about, isn't it? It's not just about turning up and working. This is about enjoying the life that you have. So one of the things will be sleep, and you're going to give it a go every night anyway. So and I think Jaya in the chat said the same thing about sleep. So the rest method for getting better sleep. So R is routine. Think about when you're taking care of babies and you try and get them to bed at the same time every night so that they sleep through. Same thing for adults. Try and go to bed at the same time, try and get up at the same time. Not always possible. If, like me, you were on Monday, you were on a 6 o'clock train to London. But try and get yourself into a routine. So that's the R. E is for the environment. So what wakes you up in the night? Have a think about that. If you're having difficulty getting to sleep or you're waking in the night, it may be a matter of environment. This time of year, I find it really hard to stay asleep when it gets light. So I've had to put blackout curtains so that I'm not awake at 4 in the morning. So have a think about the environment that you're in. Is your bed comfortable? Is your pillow comfortable? Are you too hot or not hot enough? Are you waking up and you're boiling or whatever in the night? Have a think about the environment that you are sleeping in. So that's those. The next S is stimulation. Coffee. Do you have any idea how long that stays in your body? So coffee is a really interesting one because it's something that people often use to perk themselves up. But if you drink it after about midday and you have difficulty sleeping, it could still be the coffee, because half of that, sort of 6, 7, 8 hours later, is still in your system caffeine wise. So have a go with the decaf, have a go with decaf tea, have a go with something else, see if that makes a difference. It's the same with smoking, it's the same with alcohol. So have a think about the stimulation things. What is it that you could be ingesting that actually is keeping you awake or not giving you the best night's sleep? And the final one, the T of REST, is about thinking. So are you lying in bed and thinking, tomorrow I've got to do this, 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 this? Well, I think we've all been there at times when it's just going round and round and round and you're thinking, well, I can't get sleep because I've got to do this, I've got to do that. What I would say is when you finish your working day, and we talked a little bit earlier in the talent trends about that blurring between work and home life. If you're having that little bit of a blurring situation, at the end of your working day, write down everything that you need to do the next day. And really, take a good 10 minutes to sit down and go, right, what is it? What's the top 3 things I want to get done tomorrow? What's the things? And then have a rundown of done today and congratulate yourself, so that you actually remember that today wasn't just running round and achieving nothing, that you submitted the VAT return, that you did whatever it is you did, that these are the things that you have achieved, because you get a dopamine response to celebrating your successes. So think about that and concentrate on that, and then that's more likely to let you unwind. The other thing about thinking is gratitude. So quite often, if I'm lying in bed and thinking, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, and this didn't go well and that didn't go well, then start thinking about what are you grateful for? Because again, that gives you a serotonin dopamine lift, which means you're more likely to be able to unwind. So some people write down their gratitudes at the end of the day to help them to unwind. Some people just lie in bed, and if they have difficulty sleeping or they're awake in the night, think about what you're grateful for. You've got a roof over your head. Maybe you've got a car. Maybe you've got family or a friend in your life. Maybe the sun came out today. Did someone smile at you? You were all here. There's 126 of us on a call. Isn't that a wonderful thing? Lots of people that are the same as you. So have a think about your gratitude. So that's REST. So that's your routine, your environment, your stimulation, and then your thinking. So top tips on sleep. Let's have a little look in the chat. So what have we got here? Yeah, mindfulness. So actually, Kirsty has put in the chat about all of the rush and the sort of busyness that goes on around and potential overwhelm and burnout around exams, which also you can carry on into your normal working life. And I found it particularly hard with a family too to keep it all together. So of the 4 things I said at the beginning, so we've got vision, and we've had a look at body, so we've had a look at sleep, mindfulness. So who here does mindfulness? Who here knows what mindfulness is? So mindfulness is where you do one thing at a time and you devote everything. Probably not being mindful. My mindfulness practice at the start of the day, and I shall come to, oh yes, I think we've got Kirsty who would like to step in with that, and I would love to hear from Kirsty. Kirsty, can you unmute yourself?
Hi, Sharon, thank you. Hi. I'm happy to share a bit about mindfulness if you like.
Oh, lovely. I'd love you to.
So I've been practicing mindfulness for 10 years, and it was my work that introduced me to it. It was a management development program, and it was one of 10 aspects that was covered in the development program. And at the time, I knew that I was really struggling to be present in life because of being lost in work thought most of the time. I had qualified a couple of years prior to that, but it was my first sort of qualified financial accountant position. And I worked part-time because I wanted to be with my children. They were at primary school. And actually, I just felt like being lost in work thoughts affected my ability to be present for them, actually. Or I was there physically, but mentally still in work. Well, what's the point in working part-time to be with your children when you're not there for them? Yeah. So when work introduced me to mindfulness and I Googled it and learnt about it and found out a bit more, I made a real commitment to start to practice that. And it really did make such a big difference to being able, for me to be able to be present outside of work, to disengage from work. You know, you just mentioned about having thoughts running around your head and it's stopping you from sleeping. Mindfulness has really helped me to realize that our thoughts are just our thoughts. Our brains will make up stories all the time about things. You know, there might be things that matter than some of our thoughts we need to engage with and we need to take action on. But sometimes our thoughts can be catastrophizing,
Absolutely.
Just ruminating, going over the same thing 100 times. Is that helpful? Is that, you know, do we need to keep that thought alive? Or can we just recognize, there's catastrophizing? And when you start to see the patterns in your mind and these thoughts that are popping up, which is what mindfulness helped me with, I could see how much I was planning again. There's planning. I'm, you know, gone to that thought again. It's okay. I'm just going to come back to the present moment. And mindfulness isn't about emptying the mind of thought, but it's about just being here for life as it is, however it is. And sometimes it's really difficult. So it's not always relaxing, but it helps us to just be here for whatever's happening, but to actually be aware of that and not be lost and dragged around by our thoughts. We can have some awareness of them instead. And that's why it's made such a big difference to me and my ability to sort of balance work and life. And actually then it's helped me to engage more in work. I'm more rested. I felt like I've switched off more when I'm not there, and I'm more present in work as well as at home. So yeah, just thought I'd share a bit about that.
That's absolutely brilliant. You know, different people find mindfulness in different places, different things that allow them to let go of those thoughts. Some people like running because of the sort of rhythmic nature of it. That's not me, but other people. My brother does that. That's his way of doing it. For me, I try and start the day off in a bit of a mindful way. So rather than waking up, looking at my phone before I've even got both eyes open. Okay, anybody done that with their emails, you know, before you've even really woken up? So instead of doing that, and to run through my senses, so to actually, rather than everything going on in your head, to try and put some more emphasis back on being in your body to get you present and grounded. So I'll walk around normally on the grass barefoot, and I'll have a look at what 5 things can I see, and what 4 things can I hear. And then I'll normally stop and see if there's anything there that's changed in the seasons. So obviously things look very different at the moment. All my grass has gone brown. It's not so nice to walk on at the moment. But just to notice what's changed, what's there, what's not there, and to notice if I'm holding any tension anywhere as I'm doing it. So one of the classic ones for people is your jaw and here. So to actually sort of sometimes give yourself a bit of a massage as you're doing that, have a look around, just be present and be aware of your body and of your breathing. So one of the mindfulness things I do between meetings, particularly if it's 2 different companies, 2 very different scenarios, I've got to switch from one thing to another thing, is I do a bit of square breathing. So that for me is just making sure that my feet are on the ground. So if we'd like to give it a bit of a go, that my feet are on the ground, that I'm comfortable in my chair, that I'm noticing if I'm holding any tension anywhere, and scanning my body for bits of tension and just tensing them and letting them go. And then doing square breathing, which is to breathe in for the count of 4, to hold for the count of 4, to breathe out for the count of 4, and to hold empty for the count of 4. And during that time, if I get any thoughts, definitely let them go, because this is now about breathing, not about thinking. And it's interesting that just starting that first 4 breath for me, it's now, I've been doing it for so long that it's now that cue for my brain to go and let that go and relax. And now we are focusing on this, not that, but this. So it helps me to do the switch over. So Kirsty, do you do any breathing techniques?
Yeah, I particularly just come to the breath a lot. So if I'm in work and you know, working remotely, you've just finished one meeting, you're starting another meeting, and just like remembering to take that moment actually and notice your breath. But as you've said, coming into the body and just coming into contact and notice the body on the chair, notice your breath, and then you've just in a better place for being present for the next meeting. I think there's something that I do regularly, and that is with the senses, as you said. And you started before by talking about vision, but not actual vision, but actually noticing our surroundings helps us to be more present for those surroundings and less caught in the mind as well. So I do that when I'm working.
Excellent. I don't know if anybody else has got any mindful techniques. I know that if you've got time to spare, something that's quite popular is either painting or drawing or mindful colouring in has been quite a thing, hasn't it? All of those sorts of things. And I would say that reaching into the creative space is another way of letting some of that go. I mean, for me, I can manage to run in my mind a cash flow on one of my businesses as I'm going around doing my supermarket shopping, which means I'm not mindful on either points there. One creative output that I do where I can't actually think of anything else is singing. So I find that when I'm singing in the band, I can't think of anything else. If I'm playing a musical instrument, I can't think of anything else. So be aware of what it is that you do where you find it easier to just be present for that thing, and then consider what else you could bring that into, I would say. But certainly, I think we have so much thrown at us, you know, from social media. If you leave your phone alone for a day, it looks like it's got the measles, doesn't it? All of these announcements and notifications and all the rest of it. Switch them off. Do you need all these things? Probably not. But you can then sort of think, oh, I must respond. I must respond. So yeah, I would say, do you have to respond is one thing, and then the other thing is to yeah, just consider, when is it that you find it easiest to switch off? Yes, Kirsty.
Sorry, no, my hand raised without me meaning to press it. Happy to join in, but yes, that was an accident.
so that, and I think mindfulness is a really good. I mean, I do all sorts of different mindful techniques. Well, one of the things you can do is get your timer on your phone, and give yourself 30 seconds, and you can either look at the time going down and just concentrate on your breathing. That's quite a good one for sort of if you don't have a lot of time to get into a different mindset, or if it's all just getting a bit much. And again, it's these things tend to grow on them. I don't know if, Kirsty, if you've discovered this as well, but I discovered that the more of it I do, the easier it is to do it. I suppose like any sort of practice. So, or another thing is to, if you have some time, is to close your eyes, concentrate on your breathing, and in your mind start counting to 10. And if you have a thought, then stop and start from 1 again. And as my business partner often says, she says the first time she'd got to number 6, she was so excited that the thought was, I've got to 6, and then she had to start again. So that's another thing you can do, is you can put a timer on for 30 seconds and just look at your hands. So if you've got a couple of minutes, you're waiting for something to come on, just look at your hands, just be present. And again, it's that being in your body scenario. Ooh. Oh, there's an app called Forest where you plant a tree on your phone so that you put it down and leave it alone. And if you use your phone, you kill the tree. Oh, I like it. Poor tree. Isn't that great? It's definitely, I'll definitely be having a look for one of those. So then the final thing actually I wanted to cover when I said about vision, mind, body, was spirit. And when I mean spirit, I've touched a bit on this already about creativity, but I'd also argue about connection. That it's one of those things that since the start of COVID, people have been talking more about mental health, and I think that's an awful lot to do with the fact that we're not literally connected to each other in the way that we used to be. So what I would say is, where is your community? Is to ask yourself that, or your communities. Now we've got 117 of us on this call. We are a community. ACCA is a community. It's somewhere where you can go to if you're not sure about something, if you want to talk something through, if there's something going on at work and you think, I don't know if that's ethical. There are people you can talk to in this community who can support you with that. And we certainly have a few Facebook groups and so on and so forth where you can pose technical questions so that you're not having to mull it all over and feel that you're totally alone on that one. But where are your other communities? So I live in a village, so we very much have a very vibrant village community here. But do you have a community of old friends that you used to go to school with? And consider, are you still connecting with them on a regular basis? Could you connect with them more? Could you give yourself a bit more of that connection to other people? Do you go, are you part of a sports club or another sort of club that is part of your community? And are you taking advantage of everything that community offers you? So are you engaging with that community in a way that's fulfilling for you? So you might be turning up at this or that in a rush, not really paying attention. Have a think about, well, how could that be different if you could pay attention to that and start to engage a bit more in your communities around you. I often found that down the pub, my other half on a Friday afternoon would disappear down the pub if he was particularly stressed, because then he could tell the guys down the pub everything about how horrendous his week had been, and they would just all nod and go, yeah, right, mate. Well, never mind, you're here now. And actually just having said it meant that it had gone. It was okay. It was okay to let it go. So have a think about your communities and what you get from them and what you could get from them. And if you're feeling a bit isolated on the community front, say, have a look for, particularly on Facebook, have a look for the ACCA communities, because there's a number of them have sprung up on there, and there's some really lovely people in there, and there's all sorts of things that you can share and all sorts of things that people chat about. We have 2 minutes, Sophie. So that's my thoughts on how to keep yourself well during all these things. So be clear on what you want in life, makes it easier to say yes and no. Nice dollop of mindfulness. Make sure you get decent sleep where you can, and if you can't, make it a bit of a task for yourself to really tackle that. And then and under spirit, have a think about who you connect with and how, and building a community and being part of your community.
Thanks, Sharon. Yeah, it's a short and sweet session, this one. But yeah, thank you for another really good, informative session. And as Sharon said, we do have a bit of a wellbeing community. I don't know if anybody on here normally attends. I know we've got David and Kirsty. I think, do you attend? We normally have some talking wellbeing sessions. So we run regular talking wellbeing sessions, which are normally on a Friday morning over Teams, and we focus on different areas of wellbeing. And yeah, we're still, they started in the pandemic, and we have really built up a little community in there, and everyone's really open, and they're quite a fun way to start your Friday morning. So we're having a bit of a summer break, but I think they'll be back in September. So definitely look out for the email and the invite and come along to those, because they are really great. And I think that's everything from us today. Any final points at all from anyone? No, we're all good. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining, and thank you, Sharon, for another great session. And yeah, hopefully see you all soon, and have lovely days. Thank you.